All right, everybody. This is going to be the week 4 review video. So we're going to be continuing. We're going to basically wrap up our satire stuff, and then you're going to be starting work on your original satire, which is going to be due early next week, probably on Tuesday. Um, but if you go into the week 4 folder, I'll show you where this stuff is. So you've got 3 more pieces, and again, I know I've shown you a lot of satire, but I haven't really had to do anything with a lot of it. But these are the pieces that came from the old Springboard book, and I think they're the best examples that come from there, which is why I chose them. So if you click on this one here, identifying historical devices, um, I have this PDF here, which is 2 pieces, one called Gambling in Schools and one called How to Poison the Earth. And I think these are really good models for when it comes to writing your own satire. I think How to Poison the Earth is an excellent model of the easiest, most straightforward way to write an original satire piece, which is just kind of ironically or sarcastically encouraging somebody to do something that you really don't actually want them to do. So that is the format most people choose. It's not the one you have to choose, but I think it's a really great piece. So doing more of the same here. So I want you to find 2 different examples of these 4 things. So irony, hyperbole, litotes, or invective. So in Gambling in Schools, find 2 examples of these, put them in there, and then do the same thing with How to Poison the Earth. So 2 more examples. And the reason I'm having you do this is because when you write your original satire, you're going to have to use these. And you're going to have to label them and make sure that I can tell you're using them deliberately and not by accident. And that's largely what the rubric is based on. If you can use these devices, it means the tone of your own piece is going to be satirical, and that's going to be good. The original satire is kind of an all or nothing assignment in that you get it and you do a great job, or you struggle and you don't, which is why it's going to be really important for you to come see me if you're struggling with this stuff. I know it's a little difficult. Um, so here are some hints I've given you to kind of help you through that assignment. So again, if you're struggling, shoot me a message or let me know. The reason I'm having you do this in discussion format is because I'm going to go through and comment on some of them, especially if people have some misconceptions. And I don't mean to call you out for doing that, but I think it's actually very helpful because a lot of students tend to make the same mistakes. So I want you to eventually be able to see everybody's examples here so you can kind of make sure you're on the same page. You're not going to have to go through and make any comments on anything. We'll do another discussion at some point, but not necessarily now. That'll be more with the next unit that we do, and once we get into Slaughterhouse-5, which we're going to do next week. So again, just post your stuff down here. If you have questions, let me know. So that's the first assignment. This guy, so every piece of satire for the most part that I've had you look at has been Horatian, which is the more lighthearted satire, which is typically a little bit easier and a lot more lighthearted and a little shorter. But Juvenalian satire is, I think, I don't know if I'll say my favorite, but I really enjoy it. So if you like things like Black Mirror is currently really popular, and that's a really great example of Juvenalian satire because it is criticizing aspects of society, mostly relating to technology, but it's oftentimes a little bit dark. But I think it conveys a point really well. Also, if you're a fan of anything that's basically most things that are set in a dystopian future are usually Juvenalian satire as well. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them are. So I'm having you read here The War Prayer by Mark Twain. It's pretty short, but it's a really, I think, impactful piece of Juvenalian satire that's beneficial to look at. So I've attached that here. So what you're going to do is you're going to read this. Then you're just going to answer this question. So what societal behavior was Twain criticizing in The War Prayer? So obviously he was criticizing it when he wrote it, but I think we still see a lot of this behavior today. Use textual evidence to support your answer. How many? I don't know, 2 to 3 examples. If you can identify the satirical devices, that's awesome. That's only going to help strengthen your response. But you don't even necessarily have to do that. So you're just going to explain what he's criticizing and how he's doing that effectively. So I give you a hint here. If you read the title, The War Prayer, there's some obvious irony there, and I'm not going to reveal what that is because then I'll be telling you what to write. But a lot of people misconstrue this and kind of twist what they think he's encouraging people to do. But again, if you take a look at that title, there's 2 things in there that don't often go together. So that should be a little helpful. So that's your second assignment this week. And then finally, I have this submission for your original satire. So I have a bunch of stuff in here, and I'll give you more information about this next week or later this week even. But I want to start getting a look at what your topics are so I can intervene if I must. So you're going to be writing your own satire. So the easiest way to do that is you think about something that really typically frustrates you, and then you're going to criticize that using the satirical devices. So things like hyperbole, invective, irony, litotes, all of that stuff. So the easiest approach, again, and I'll share some more stuff with you as we get toward the end of the week, is to think about something that you really don't want people to do, but then use irony to encourage them to do that. So if you look at How to Poison the Earth, it's obviously addressing pollution, right? So the author there was telling you how to more effectively pollute things to bring attention to how often we actually pollute the earth by injecting a whole bunch of chemicals into it. So that's probably the easiest approach, but not the only approach. When you write this, it's probably going to be about 2 to 3 pages long, but you have freedom with the format of the satire. So you're welcome to write an essay, and that's what most people do, or maybe like a how-to guide, so encouraging people, ironically, to do something you don't want them to do. But people in the past have also done short stories or letters or diary entries or even scripts for plays. So if you want to go that route, that's awesome. So you're going to click this link here to submit your topic, and that's going to take you here. So who are you? That's your name, obviously. What aspect of society are you criticizing? So what behavior do you want stopped? So again, this is similar in thought to your open letter, but it doesn't have to be something. It can be a small scale thing. So I don't know, if people chewing with their mouth open really frustrates you, you could write a satire about that, encouraging people to actually do it. Although, ironically, because you don't want them to do that, right? So what aspect of society are you criticizing? And then how are you going to achieve your satirical tone? So what approach are you going to take? So I'll read through these and then give you some feedback. If I think you're kind of off a little bit, but I don't really anticipate I'll have to, but I'll look through them to make sure that you're on track. What I've also included, here, this pre-writing thing. So I'm probably not going to have you do anything with this week, but I wanted to attach it so you can take a look. So what I have in here is 2 possible organizers. So I've got this one here, and then the second one starts right here. So I've given you kind of 2 examples. I've completed this one for you, but I've given you a blank one as well. So these are just kind of templates to help you organize your thoughts if you're struggling. So all I did here is I took something which obviously I don't think people should do, which is smoke cigarettes because they're awful for you. But I kind of flip that on its head and ironically encourage people to do that. So cigarettes, a healthy alternative. So obviously it's not healthy. So this is, irony. And then if you can create a bunch of hyperbolic statements or use some litotes or use sarcasm, if you're good at doing that stuff with your topic, then it's going to ensure that you have a satirical tone throughout. So do you have to do this week? No, but I will probably have you do it at some point. But if you are struggling, it's kind of nice to go through this process to make sure you know what's going on. I've given you some samples here. And then I also did another one if I were just writing a straightforward essay, encouraging people to go outside more. So here I talk about the benefits of staying inside and avoiding all outside activities, which obviously I don't really believe because I think you should go outside because it's fun and healthy. But I wrote a sample intro paragraph, and then these would be my body paragraphs. So I have the actual societal consequence, right? So if you never go outside, you're probably going to have poor cardiovascular health because you're probably not getting a lot of exercise. But then I've used irony to flip these around to turn them into benefits. So I've done that with a couple different things here, and I've given you a template here. So feel free to use that. Like I said earlier, this is pretty much an all or nothing assignment, which means you're either going to understand satire and it's going to be awesome, or you're really going to struggle and it's going to be bad. So it's super, super, super important that you send me messages or stop by during block 4 so we can kind of hash it out before you get too deep into confusion because that's bad. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, shoot me a message or stop by.